And we are now officially on the Facebook here with Mike Sofko of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com. He's right there. Dan Tortora of WakeUpCallDT.com. Inside of the Charney's Menswear and Tuxedo Studios, this is the Fantasy Football Power Hour, and it's proudly brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub. They are your place to go for curbside pickup and delivery. Call the number 315-487-2222. So easy, a baby could just lean on the keyboard and make it happen. 315-487-2222. Make sure that you help out the Wildcat. They have fantastic food, and they are led by a fantastic ownership in Danny Tome and his wife Heather and all that they do for the community. So help where you can, get what you can, and I would suggest the fried dough, the Philly cheesesteak, or the chicken Caesar wrap. A lot of great stuff coming to you at the Wildcat Sports Pub. So with that being said, we are in the Fantasy Football Power Hour, and Mike and I are here to talk about all those beautiful topics. A lot of things happening in the NFL right now. Mr. Sofka, how are we doing today, brother?
I'm doing awesome. How about you, Dan?
I'm doing well. You know, you can see that every week we talk to each other, I get more and more bronze. You can see how dark I am becoming because thankfully I look like I've been in Florida, and I haven't been because I've been walking every day. This will be my 31st straight day of over 10,000 steps. So, shout out to that. Yesterday I was a little bit behind, so I had to jog around the house and do some cool stuff, but I got there and I made it happen. So, definitely appreciating the sun in Syracuse, the tan, the body and mind getting right, and all that good stuff. So, Mike, what are you doing in Corona time? What are you doing to help yourself out a little bit?
Well, I am considered by the president and by the governor as essential. As you know, fantasy football is essential for our daily living. So
Yeah.
I do get to go to work every day. I am outside every day. I do average somewhere between 7,000 and 12,000 steps, depending on the days. So I'm still trying to calculate how that relates to me walking to the moon. I know it's I think it's 285,000 miles. I just got to, do the math to make that count the steps now. See how far to the moon I am.
Yeah, I think I'm getting ever closer every single day. So we are getting closer to the season, and I did want to address something. The Jacksonville Jaguars, I took a look. I got a message from StubHub. They are selling their tickets. It looked like they were selling everything but maybe the opening game, and then maybe that's changed by now. But the Jacksonville, I could actually check here this morning as we're talking about it, and I will. But the Jacksonville Jaguars are selling their single game tickets. What are your thoughts on this? Because we still don't, we still don't truly know what's going to happen with this season and how it's going to happen and how many fans and if the fans. But what I do know is that the NFL is allowing these ticket sales to happen. So what are your thoughts on the fact that, at least fans for now can buy tickets to these games?
Yeah, I'm going to look into that a little further myself. I find that interesting. Now, when I buy 2 tickets, does that mean I have to buy seat number 1 and seat number 7? Does it have to be 6 seats apart?
Yeah.
Or do I have to buy that whole row but can only occupy 2 of the seats? Or are they going to sell all the tickets? I think that might be a very weird way to see a game. It's kind of like going to a Jets game or maybe a Jaguars game when they weren't doing so well on attendance. You kind of stretch it out. You got all 3 seats. You've got your feet up on the seats in front of you. It might be interesting.
Well, they say, when you go to the movie theater, you're supposed to have a cushion. So, you're there with, your friends or your date or whatever it may be, and then there's supposed to be a little cushion. So maybe we'll finally have that cushion that people appreciate and like, that whole, like, why do you got to sit right next to me? Or that person where you buy the seats now in the movie theater and the whole row's open and you have E12 and 13, and then somebody comes and buys E14 and just sits right next to you for no reason. So, maybe this is going to create the buffer seat. Maybe we'll finally have a little buffer. I don't know, Mike, but, it seems like it is a possibility that the buffer seat could be coming into the real effect right now, which I guess is good for everybody, and we'll see where it takes us. But, I do, and I'm looking up StubHub right now because I want to give real-time accuracy in what we're discussing here. And if I look up the Jacksonville Jaguars, because so many things are getting moved. The crazy thing is Rascal Flatts canceled their farewell tour, and that just seems like crazy words. Like, we're going to say goodbye, but not yet. So it's like it's crazy.
They weren't really saying goodbye. Kiss never really said goodbye. I went to their farewell tour 6 tours ago back in the day.
Yeah.
And then Motley Crue is doing the same thing. There's just too much money. These corporations who want to get their name out in front of people, these ticket companies, these arenas, and then when they do one of these 6-time farewell, this time we really mean it tour, tickets are like outrageously priced. So
Yeah.
it's money grabs. It is what it is. I don't blame them. I would do the same thing. If this is your last go round, pay me.
So here it is right now. The Indianapolis game has been added, and you can buy seats. And right now, I want to see the prices of these. Prices are not even bad at all. I mean, if you buy, let's go behind the Jaguars bench. So if you buy sideline tickets, they're $360, but the tickets are as cheap as $29 right now, and for the Jacksonville Jaguars games, and their games are all up here. They have the road games and the home games on here at TIAA Bank Field, the home games. They're $36, $40, what is it, $74, depending on who they're playing. But all of the events are here and available. You can buy tickets to the Jaguars preseason games, their home games, and their away games for the entire 2020-2021 season. You can also buy the game day tailgate experience stuff all on StubHub. So the tickets are available and you can see them. You can click like you would anywhere else on a section and you can go through and purchase your tickets. Now, I haven't gone through and obviously done any of this to the end, and I almost wonder if there's a disclaimer of, if this game is not played, you will get a full refund or something like that. But I would imagine that, StubHub and some of these other places would have to put some clause in there.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm all in. I think it's great. I think it's a great sign. I think it's great indication as to where the NFL thinks this thing is going. And you got to understand, the NFL is a giant business. To us, it's watching a football game, but it's a giant business that produces these games. There's a lot of money on the line just between sponsorships, let alone paying the players, TV rights. It's just about merchandise. It's all multi-layered and great for the NFL and great for fans because it puts on an excellent product and gives us something to get behind. So if they're willing to gamble on selling tickets right now, I think it's a great thing. Personal feelings aside, and whether you think this pandemic or so-called pandemic is going in one direction or another,
Yeah.
I think it's a good indication that things are turning out to be, going to be in a positive way here relatively soon. If they're already selling tickets, that's great news.
Yeah, I'm hoping it. And there's some other stuff that's still up here that you can get. Syracuse, the Syracuse Orange football tickets, those are still on sale as well. So you can buy those tickets. There's a Syracuse. Oh, wow, this is crazy. The game that Syracuse plays on the road at Western Michigan, the tickets are only $17 right now. And the Syracuse home games, they're like $36. The highest Syracuse home game, $71 on StubHub to see Florida State visit Syracuse, which is the last home game of the season for the Orange on November 19th. But, tickets are up on StubHub. The college football tickets are up here. The professional tickets are up here. So interesting on where we're heading in the grand scheme of things here. But the hopes that there will be a season and the hopes that we will get to see these in some way, shape, or form. But, Mike, I mean, we're all just hoping for the best at this point. And above all things, we just need to stay safe. I don't really, I care. And obviously I want to be there and it's my livelihood and I love it. And I'm a big kid and I do what I love and I love what I do. So I'm one of those people that gets to live my dream every day, which I hope everybody gets to do in the not too distant future and beyond. But I care about safety more than anything. And I hope that people are smart and that we make decisions not based on money, but based on the health of our community. Because the last thing I want is for us all to go out and them to say, oh, look, there's a second wave. And then we all got to go back in again a little bit longer. So I don't want to do that.
Hopefully that won't happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're either going to open or we're not going to open. Either you're going to be attending games or you're not. The next thing that they're going to do is they're going to put I mean, we can take things to extremes. We can take a surgical mask and put it outside the face mask of the helmets of the play. I mean, come on. It comes to a certain point where you got to play the game. If I leave my house today, I might get hit by a bus. I'm sure there's a certain percentage of possibility that I'm going to get hit by a bus. But if I'm not going near a bus, I probably have nothing to worry about. I mean, it's just we have to move on. We have to get on with life.
Well, and that's the thing is, we're trying to figure this out and do what we can, but life has to move on in some way, shape, or form. We just got to be smart about how we go about what we're doing here in life. Now we have a topic to discuss, and his name is Jalen Ramsey, and this is wonderful because Jalen is back here doing his thing, and I told you I said this about Dwight Howard, and I said it about Jalen Ramsey. You look at the personality of some people and you can put them in a different place. Listen, I said this on the show yesterday. There are two types of people in the world. The people that screw up and change, and the people that screw up and stay the same. There is no one who will not screw up. There is no one who will not make a mistake. There's no one who will not do something and hurt somebody that they love and they care about. But it is, and I'm not saying going and hitting somebody and stabbing, I'm not saying any of that, but we all say words. We all have moments in the heat of the moment. We all have our time where we're not our best version of ourselves. And some people change and some people don't. Well, I told you that I never expected Dwight Howard to change. And so far, from what I can see, he has not. Now, Jalen Ramsey, the Rams have been in contact with Ramsey about a contract extension. And Ramsey was coy Tuesday when asked about it. He said, quote, the Rams know where I stand. I think that's all that matters at the end of the day. It will be handled. They know where I stand. They've been in contact with my agent. They're on the same page as my agent. Now, when he asked if he would come to training camp, if he had yet signed an extension, he said, yeah, for sure. And so we'll see where it goes from here. And then McVay said, Rams head coach Sean McVay said, quote, it's really in that back and forth, really trying to communicate. There's been so many things that have caused a different rhythm, if you will, just based on the other stuff that we're navigating through. So it's hard for me to say exactly what the specifics of those conversations have entailed, end quotes. So now he is expected to have a record-breaking contract. And then McVay went on to say, quote, the anticipation was to acquire him with the hope that he's a Ram for a long time. You want to figure out how do we get him taken care of the way that he deserves and still make sure we're mindful of the entire team, end quote. Ramsey went on to say, quote, I can't really worry about that. I just control what I got to worry about right now. I feel like everybody knows what type of situation it was going to be once they traded for me, so I think it really doesn't need to be talked about that much. It'll get handled, end quote. So we'll see where he stacks up. Now, Todd Gurley signed a 4-year, $40 million extension in July of 2018 with a $45 million guarantee in money, and that didn't work out. Aaron Donald signed a 6-year, $135 million extension that was the richest contract ever signed by a defensive player, and Jared Goff signed a 4-year, $134 million deal that included a record-breaking $110 million of the $134 million guaranteed. So that is where we stand right now. But, I'm not saying that Ramsey can't change. I'm not saying he doesn't have the ability to change. But, now we're in this contract thing. And I'm just interested, if for nothing else, to watch and see how this plays out. Because he loves the Rams because they're his new team. But he hated the Jaguars. And now I want to see how much he loves the Rams if they have to go back and forth a few times.
This is interesting because obviously Jalen Ramsey's people who have been around him, supporting him, or guiding him have led him astray, and now it's to a hopeless and hapless situation here. What I mean by that is we saw this clown show start in the beginning of last season when he pulled up the camp in a Brinks truck and had a crew and, all this stuff, carrying bags of money off the Brinks truck. Just stop. We've seen this clown show with the list of, and as funny or immature as it was, it was, you're in a professional football league. You can't have a list calling opposing quarterbacks trash and just, I get it. On the field, there's a lot of trash talk, but putting something out for the media to see and then circulate, you think you're building a brand that way. You're not building a brand. What you're doing is you're showing everybody how stupid you are as a business person. Now, they say that the bad guy gets as many views as the good guy, if not more. It's clickbait. I get it. If that's what's going to drive your brand, God bless you. Right now, you're the 16th ranked cornerback on my board in a redraft situation. So that means you wouldn't even crack the top lineup. You wouldn't even be the first cornerback on anybody's team.
Yeah.
Now, I take my rankings very seriously. What I say may not matter to you, Jalen Ramsey, but going to the Rams because they're a winning organization. They're going to win. They're all about winners. Well, you saw what this winning organization did when they let everybody go. It was a big gamble in the Rams organization on the past 2 to 3 years. They knew this was going to come. They knew this day where you had to pay the piper was going to come, but they were gambling on the future. They traded away all their first-round picks for like a 5-year period. They pushed all their chips into the table. They went all in, and they lost. It didn't work out. Now you see big-name players who aren't re-signed, who are going to other teams, who are traded away and so forth. They're still going to pay you, Jalen. And being patient is smart. Keeping your mouth shut is smarter in this time. Are they going to pay you this year? Probably not. Are they going to push to the end? Probably. Can they franchise you? Yes. Are you going to get paid a little more that way? Yes. Will your payday eventually come? Will some team someday in the near future here pay you? Yes. I doubt it's going to be the Rams, though, because of the current situation they're in right now, Joe, and it makes no sense. So you leaving Jacksonville to go be with a winner, all you found out was how much of a business the NFL really is.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, he says all this, he's the best, he's this, that, and whatever. I mean, the reality of it all is you got to be a team player. And you don't talk about your contract stuff in public, okay? When I work with businesses and I do partnerships, I don't come onto the show and talk about, well, we're in contract negotiations with da-da-da. I don't do that stuff. I don't say, well, the Wildcat and I are currently working. No, you keep certain things to yourself, right? You don't come on and blast what's going on. And I had Latavius Murray come on the show, New Orleans running back, and I'm going to be posting his, so you can go back and listen to it in the archive. But he came on to the show, and he spoke with me about, like, don't put, your personal stuff, the stuff you hold tight to your vest, don't be talking about that. Don't go on Twitter and talk about, this, that, and whatever, because you got to handle that. Now there are ways to send messages. There are ways to get things through. There are ways to kind of just, subliminally maybe put something out there, positive, this and that. But, there's something to be said about airing your dirty laundry in public. And Jalen feels the need to do this. But what I find interesting is on Twitter, Jalen is always quoting Bible verses, and they're very, inspirational and informative and good. And then I see how he acts, and it's not that we haven't met somebody like this before or been through something like that, where somebody looks so positive and they look so good and they look so inspirational, and then you see how they act and you're like, Jesus, they're not even listening to the words that they're posting. So, you can't be two people at once. And I mean, I've learned that, you can't go back and forth. You have to be what you say and say what you be. And that's just how it is. And with Jalen, I've always been very confused. Not to say that I haven't had my own mistakes and seen it from other people or players, but I've always been very confused about if you read his Twitter feed and you look at these Bible verses, you're like, wow, he's super inspirational and he has a lot of wisdom. And then I was in the locker room with him, and I was like, wow, he's a 3-year-old stamping his foot because he wanted a different type of cheese on his sandwich than what his parents had at home. So there's a juxtaposition of it that confuses me.
Wow, that was a very specific example, the different cheese on the sandwich. Are you trying to tell us something, Dan? Is this something that happened in your childhood?
I like the yellow American. I don't like the white American cheese. I don't know why. It tastes different to me, but the yellow American is better. I don't know why.
All right, well, now that we've got that cheese debacle behind us, the NFL is
Cheesegate.
business, like I said before, and if you're not mature about the business is going to leave you behind.
Yeah.
There's one thing about head cases. Lately, they're not lasting very long in the NFL. Look at Antonio Brown. Prime example. I mean, just total head case. Started believing the stuff that was spewing from his mouth, and the things that were spewing from his mouth were just unbelievable. So it comes down to you got to handle this like a job. It's a game. Enjoy playing the game. Be happy you're getting paid to play a game, but you need to approach it like a business. And unfortunately, Jalen Ramsey just hadn't figured that out yet.
Yeah, and I just think, and I hope that Jalen will, I don't know, I hope the best for him. I really do. I hope the best for him, and I want him to make his money, but again, we're talking about millions upon millions of dollars, and if you want to win a championship, you got to be smart with that. I'm concerned that he could cripple the Rams, but I'm hopeful that I just hope that he learned his lesson. You're supposed to learn something. And, every time somebody leaves Jacksonville or complains about Jacksonville or flips out about Jacksonville on social media, he always puts free my dogs, free my dogs. So he has this like hatred for Jacksonville. It's like, I don't want to date Jacksonville, but none of you can either. And it's just, it's like, let it go, dude. It's like, if you didn't want to be with your ex, you know what I mean? It's like when people get divorced and then they don't want anybody to date the person that they want nothing to do with. And then I'm like, well, are you jealous? It's like, no, I hate him. Okay. So, that's how I look at this. Like, Jalen, you don't like Jacksonville. So why are you even paying attention where they are? They're on the other coast. They're in the other conference. You won't even see them if you play them. Unless you play them in a Super Bowl, you're never even going to see Jacksonville.
It's FOMO. It's fear of missing out.
Yeah.
The greatest thing that is in the back of his head right now, and the thing that bothers him, is Jacksonville is going to go on and become successful without him. He wants to show that they were to the AFC title game when he was there. They were a better defense when he was there.
Yeah.
They were doing things better when he was there. So he not only wants to root for himself, but he wants to root against that other evil machine in Jacksonville that did him so wrong. I haven't always agreed with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the moves they've made and the things they've done, but the Cons are pretty smart business people. I don't think they're going to let something get away from them. They did the right thing by trading for him. You can go back through the archives. We talked about it the whole season before he was traded, about how he was going to get traded. So, if we saw that, I think Jacksonville saw that, and they were able to get something out of him. So I think that was an okay business move. And then what they do, they drafted C.J. Henderson, probably the best cornerback in the draft this year. So, that's the FOMO. Here's Ramsey. And I'll take it a step further. FOMO, Ramsey leaves Jacksonville. Where did Ramsey go to school? Florida State. They bring in a cornerback who might be better than you. Where'd he go to school? Florida Gators. That's right. So it goes even deeper. It's even a deeper cut for Ramsey. That's how immature he is about this situation. It's FOMO, and he's got to get over it.
Well, you say FOMO, I say YOLO. So, that's how I live. That's how I am. So before we take a step aside for a fast break, you only live once. Appreciate what you got, folks. I want to talk about something that is very interesting, and that is Mr. Joe Flacco, the backup to Sam Darnold. He's with the Jets. I said that he had, at best, 2 years in Denver before Drew Lock was going to take over. I thought Drew Lock would eventually, after a year not being out there, would be out there. And with all the injuries happening, Drew kind of had to show himself a little bit. Well, Joe Flacco is a New York Jet, 1 year, $1.5 million contract that was signed here recently. And he confirmed that, right now he may still be out. He said, quote, I can't speak to exactly when I'm going to be ready, but it will not be day one. Obviously, we'll get with the doctors and have another checkup come August, so we'll see where that goes, end quote. He's 35 years old. Am I going to be 35 this year? I am. It's crazy how you get to a certain age, and then I go, am I 33, 34, 35? I don't know, but I'm going to be 35 this year in October. He's 35. Underwent surgery in April for a herniated disc and could be cleared for contact in early to mid-September. He said he feels quote-unquote normal right now. He's throwing and working out, but he would be limited in training camp. Now, we're looking at what this says now. Flacco said, quote, first and foremost, I want to help the team in any way possible and also be a guy Sam can lean on, that he can learn from. I would say those are the two most important things. Help out the guys on the team and help out Sam to do all I can. For me personally, I want to play football. I've had some things happen, got injured and had to have surgery. I have to find my way back into the league. I want to play for years to come. I think these guys have given me a great opportunity, and I hope I can make the most of my situation and make the most of whatever my role ends up being, end quotes. So he did go on to say, my mind was just all over the place. Even a couple months into the offseason, I was just kind of going crazy about the whole thing. The fact that I finally got the surgery done and put all that behind me, I can move forward and now look to football. It's tough to talk about this and not get political, but I want to get back to work. I think everybody wants to get back to work. It would be very easy for me and a bunch of the guys that play to sit here and say, we can quarantine until this and this and this. I could quarantine forever. I've been lucky. I've been fortunate. But I want to get back to work. I think we all do, man. We need this. We need to get back to work and get things going. End quote. So I think he brings up a good point here. You know, most NFL players and professional athletes could quarantine forever and are still going to have money. But the fact that he has love for the game is what keeps you in it. Rob Drummond said you lose love for the game, that's when you're done. Joe Flacco, what are your thoughts? I mean, does he improve the Jets? Does he improve Sam Darnold? This is a guy that when he came into the league, I backed him and thought he'd be successful. And him and Mark Sanchez that I backed both went to the playoffs immediately. But then Joe Flacco lost favor. They drafted Lamar Jackson, and I believed that that was going to change the game. It did. And then essentially he moved on to Denver, and now he's a Jet. What are your thoughts on his love, his passion, his desire to play, but the fact that he is now a New York Jet?
Yeah, you know, I think the one thing you left out was he has to see that hand specialist yet. You know, the ones that they got to clear him to hold the clipboard. You know, this is what he's going for.
Yeah.
He's going to be in the right ear of Sam Darnold. This is a guy who was successful early on, like you said, with the Ravens. And, you know, I can't say he really as much fell out of favor as Father Time caught up with him. I mean, since 2008. So he's had basically 12 years, you know, in pro ball with the Ravens. And, you know, age sets in. And then you get a guy like Lamar Jackson. I mean, that's like putting a Porsche next to an old beat-up VW or something. You know, it is what it is. It's the new hot flavor. It's the faster. It's the new and improved. And, you know, years go by and guys adapt and learn different things and different ways to play the game. And Flacco's more of the pocket passing kind of guy. And Jackson's more of a, I'm going to make something happen. And he's by far the best running quarterback I've seen ever. And I'm including Vic. I'm including, you know, it's some of the old great names. But the bottom line is still the bottom line. It's a business. Just like we talked about before in the other segment there. It's a business. The NFL's a business. Flacco's going to make the most out of what he's got left in the tank. And what he's got left in the tank is all in the tank upstairs. He can help Sam Darnold mold a little bit better going into his third year here. This is a guy who we look to take another large step. We look him to take a team that they're starting to build around him. They drafted some decent mid to low range running backs in the draft. They have receivers for him now. He has a tight end who I think is going to be underestimated, Ryan Griffin, on the team. And just the maturity and being with that same organization for that period of time, he's bound to take the next step. I think if I had to consider a fantasy quarterback, Sam Darnold may not be my first choice, but he may be in my 10 to 15 range of quarterback, or my 12 to 17 range of quarterback, depending on the rankings. I think this is an important move for the Jets. I think it's a smart move by the Jets. And heaven forbid Sam Darnold get mono again.
Yeah.
Well, now they have somebody who might be able to step in on a moment's notice.
The kissing disease. Oh my goodness, mono. Gotta love it. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. You know, this is the thing. Let me just say this really quick. I had mono once in my life, and it's like, you know, they call it the kissing disease, and you get it from person to person, whatever. The person that had mono that I was closest around, they had mono, and they're just like, I think my throat's a little dry. I felt like someone had broken a windshield and stuck it into my neck. I couldn't even drink water. I barely could breathe. So I hope that if any of you ever experience mono, it's the like, I think I need a spot of tea, as opposed to, I think my head's in a windshield. So with that being said, we're going to take a step aside, but before we do that, make sure that you join our Facebook group, Winning Fantasy Football. That is Winning Fantasy Football. All you have to do on Facebook is type in Winning Fantasy Football, and you'll find our group, and you can join it, and it's free, and it's easy. And as I told you last week, shout out to the Buffalo Bills, named after a serial killer. If you don't join the group, it puts the lotion in the basket or it gets the hose again. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. Join us on Winning Fantasy Football during the fast break, and we'll talk with you in just a moment.
Now that the weather has turned chilly, why not be a hero to your family and friends and treat them to some fresh, handmade ice cream from Carvel DeWitt? Whether it's our ice cream, novelties, or world-famous cakes, we make everything fresh by hand daily. Don't be fooled by the ice cream that you see in the grocery store that could be weeks or months old. Carvel DeWitt is the oldest Carvel in the country and prides itself on making the best, freshest ice cream every single day. Come on in and taste the fresh difference and be a hero to your family and friends. Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like.
Charney's Men's Clothing is your one-stop shop for your men's dress up and dress down wear. Located on 3150 Erie Boulevard East in Syracuse, Charney's Men's Clothing is proud to be your trusted name for decades in suits, sport coats, tuxedos, and all accessories. Charney's Men's Clothing also provides sports and leisure-themed casual wear for the everyday man. Stop in and see our welcome and friendly staff on 3150 Erie Boulevard East in Syracuse. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, hanging out inside of the Charney's Menswear and Tuxedo Studios here on 3150 Erie Boulevard East in Syracuse, New York. You can call Charney's Monday through Friday from noon until 4 p.m. That is Monday through Friday from noon until 4 at 315-463-6011. That's 315-463-6011. And when you call that, you can get in touch with them and get a gift certificate. So when they do reopen, you can get exactly what you want for yourself or for one of your loved ones. You can dress up and dress down at Charney's, and make sure that you do that today and by buying their gift certificate over the phone, noon until 4, 315-463-6011, as Charney's gets ready to transition and, God willing, reopen very soon here. With that being said, Mike Sofka and I are hanging out with you inside of these beautiful Charney's Menswear and Tuxedo Studios. Mike is of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com, myself, Dan Tortora, of WakeUpCallDT.com, and we're both together on Winning Fantasy Football, which is the Facebook group that you can join today and every day by going to Facebook and typing in Winning Fantasy Football. That's all you have to do. It is that easy, so make sure that you do it today. The Miami Dolphins are opening a drive-in theater at Hard Rock Stadium. I think the Jaguars should open up one at TIAA Bank Field, and I think they should show Dan Marino's final game just because. So I'm kidding. I love Dan Marino, but 62-7, the Jaguars won that game. But let me tell you this, Hard Rock Stadium has always been about all the craziness and all these different things that they could do and whatnot. Well, the Dolphins are going to let their fans drive into the stadium and be able to have something really cool. They announced yesterday that they're launching an outdoor drive-in theater inside of Hard Rock Stadium that will show marquee games in team history, classic movies, commencement ceremonies, concerts, and more. They're also hosting an open-air theater that can host small groups for an intimate viewing experience in the complex plaza. The Dolphins have mocked renderings of this, which can hold up to 230 cars. They're promoting it as a family-friendly event that you can participate in amongst what's going on with the coronavirus pandemic. Food and beverage can be purchased through an online system and delivered to your cars. Restrooms will be made available. Fans can put their name on an email list via the stadium website to be notified when tickets are available. Now, what we've heard from Dolphins and Hard Rock Stadium Vice Chairman and CEO Tom Garfinkel, quote, "We've spent several weeks planning this to be able to provide people with a safe option to go out and enjoy movies, classic Dolphins content, concerts, and celebrate 2020 graduates. It's a fundamental human need to physically experience and celebrate events and experiences together. We're trying to provide options for everyone where they can be safely socially distant and socially present at the same time," end quote. Hard Rock Stadium became the first public facility to earn the Global Biorisk Advisory Council's STAR accreditation, the standard used for facilities to implement cleaning, disinfecting, and infectious disease prevention work practices to control risks involved with infectious agents like the coronavirus. They have been proactive in everything that's going on. They released mock plans that would likely host approximately 15,000 fans in the stadium if the NFL and the government give clearance. Owner Stephen Ross said Tuesday that there will, quote unquote, definitely be a football season this fall, and the plan as of now is to include having fans in the stands. So that is where we're at with the Miami Dolphins and Hard Rock Stadium. Mike, what do you think about this? You could actually essentially have a concert at Hard Rock Stadium if you have a band or a singer. Like, you think about this, Blake Shelton, right? Gets on his guitar at home, goes on the big screen, and they do it just at Hard Rock. It's technically like he's there. They can pay a certain amount to see him, and you could still have concerts that have never been seen before in real time, even though the person isn't there. So, I mean, Hard Rock Stadium can really do whatever they want with this, and if they make it work, I'm sure other people will probably follow suit.
I think they'll take it a step further, and if they do something like that with a concert type event, I think there's no harm in having the actual artist there. I mean, you think about it, if everybody else is going to be in their cars, it'll be like a drive-in concert. You know, the artist shouldn't be in danger, supposedly. And my thing is the artist going to wear a mask? Now, obviously, if they're doing it in their own home or studio, they won't have to. But
yeah,
I think you're getting to a point of ridiculousness here. I think, you know, if you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask. If you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask. But that's a different discussion. Look, what they're doing with the drive-in theater thing is great, trying to get people out, trying to get people interested, trying to get people back to the stadium, trying to make some sort of money out of the stadium, because while it's sitting there idle, it's not making any money. And those things cost a lot of money, by which you probably paid for if you're watching this in the greater Miami area, because taxes is what puts those buildings up now. But I think it's great for people to be able to get out and do something. You know, get out and, you know, the news, the media has everybody at a certain level, and, you know, whether you believe those levels or not, it's people need to get out. We need to mix it up. We need to get out and about. You need to be able to enjoy life. You need to be able to embrace life, and, you know, you can't let things scare you. And this seems like a moderate or, you know, a good middle of the road type thing, because you're still getting out, but you're in your car, and you could sit in your car with your windows up, I guess, if you wanted to. But hey, it brings back those drive-in movie theater experiences. I'm old enough to remember experiencing that as a young man, and I remember, you know, going with my family to the drive-in theater, and I can remember that was an event. That was something we did together. So anything that pull families together, get them out of the house. Nowadays, there might be families that are trying to kill each other. They've been in the house so long. Yeah. So I think it's a great opportunity. My question is, I want to know exactly what movies they're going to play. I want to know exactly what they are. I don't want to go there and have a surprise thing. I want to know that Rudy is going to be playing when I go, or The Longest Yard, the original one, not that garbage they put out a couple years ago. I want to know The Waterboy is playing. I want to know about what movie I'm seeing when. Schedule it.
Yeah, you know, I think, and you know, I would love we have a drive-in theater here in Central New York, and it's, you know, kind of back roads, Fulton, Oswego area, and Midway. And I would love for that to reopen, because what they would do is they would have, you would pay for car, you know, pay per car, and you come in, you pay, and you would see whatever they had playing that night, and they would tell you in advance, but you could stay for the whole thing, you could stay for part of it, but they would have a double or a triple feature. You know, like as soon as the sun went down, they would have movies at like 9 o'clock on, and they would have 3 movies sometimes. You're there till 1 o'clock in the morning, but they got the restrooms open. You can get your concessions and all that good stuff. I don't know how they would work that with everything going on because they get a lot of cars there. But you know, it would be great to see it. I miss the movies. You know, that's a pastime for me. So I miss the movies more than a lot of things right of like the basic things right now. I just miss being able to go to the movie theater, and it's one of the first things that I'm going to do when all this is done. I mean, I might just wrap plastic bags around myself and go to the movie theater, but I mean, for me, I just miss that because I've always been a storyteller. I love screenwriting. I want to work with movies someday. I have gotten to work on some stuff in different ways before, and I would love to expand my career and my opportunities there. And I just love the world of movies, and I'm missing it like crazy. And so, you know, I was like, I don't even care what movie I see at this point. I hope it's good. But whenever they reopen those theaters, it's like, give me a reason to go to the theater, and I am there. But I mean, you know, drive in or sit down or whatever it is, Mike, like I feel like those things are what people need because why do people go to movies? To get a break from reality. What's reality like right now? A little bit crazy. So I feel like, you know, people just kind of want, you go to amusement parks, you go to movie theaters, so you can just kind of like jump into a fantasy for a little bit. You could be in a different world. And, you know, I think with Disney being closed, it's just like it's so weird that you could drive literally up there now and there's nothing. And it just kind of breaks my heart. So I hope that some of these places that we like to just escape to for a little bit will start to reopen.
Yeah, I think we're kind of spoiled though, you know, and it kind of begs the question: are people going to want to go out and watch a movie? They've probably been watching Netflix. They probably had enough. They've probably seen everything. They probably started at page 1 of the internet, and they're probably at page 10 jillion on the internet right now. They're done. You know, is that really? I think people of different mindsets, though. I think there's some that are more athletically inclined. Getting out of the house means getting out and going and do something, playing a game of basketball, doing something that way. Going out for others is just doing something different, experiences something different. I think you're onto something there with the you know, the drive-in movie theater there, and it reminds me, you should probably call me later. I got a great idea for you, Dan. You already have sponsors in place for this event too, so this is something that maybe you can be a part of in your local community. You know, there aren't very many drive-in movie theaters throughout the country, so this is huge for, you know, the people in that Miami area. Even though it's only 230 cars and Miami's got millions of people, you know, it's something nice. It'd be something different to do. It's something that we could look back in history and say, remember when this happened. I think the pandemic is going to be something that most people are going to use as a bookmark or a time marker when they're talking about the future of people. Oh, that happened before the pandemic. Oh, that happened during during the pandemic when we wanted to do that. You know, it's something you're going to tell your grandkids about. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of a nice way to give you an excuse to get out of the house. Anything to get out of the house is good.
Yeah, you know, and I think it'll be fun to do. Have you been by Disney at all? And have you just like driven just to see? I mean, being down there in Florida, I mean, that's got to be one of the eeriest, weirdest. I mean, Walt Disney World. This was one of my trivia questions that I asked when I was hosted trivia within this past year. Was how many times has Walt Disney World or how many holidays is Walt Disney World closed for? The answer is 0. The only time Walt Disney World in Lake Buena Vista, aka Orlando, Florida, the only time they've ever closed there was 5 separate occasions, all because of weather, in the history of them being open. And you know, Magic Kingdom opened back in '71, so think about how much time that's been. I can't even imagine what it would be like to go over there. Have you gone over there?
Well, no, they're not letting anybody, you know, in. I think what they used to call downtown Disney area is open. Disney Springs, as is the City Walk at Universal, and there's talks in place. They've got plans of action in place with the governors, and they've already been meeting and proposed days, and I probably don't have all the correct information here as far as exact dates, but they will be reopening. They will have park ambassadors throughout the park to remind you about social distancing issues. From what I understand, you're going to have to wear a mask to get into these places, and they're going to take your temperature with that thermal reader on the outside of your forehead before you're granted entry into the parks. So I think on their end, they're trying to do what they think is right.
Yeah.
You know, take it or leave it. But right now, I've seen aerial shots of the parks, and I've seen aerial shots of the areas, and It does look a little eerie. It looks like a map that you could buy at the store because there's a lot of buildings, there's a lot of familiar structures, but there's no people.
Now, there's an interesting thing here that if you look it up, if you start your vacation on July 1st, they are allowing they're allowing you to make reservations for Walt Disney World for their hotels right now. You can make hotel reservations starting on July 1st. So interesting if it's going to hold to that and have an opportunity for that.
Now, all that could be adjusted here because the NBA is in talks with Disney and with the league and with the Players Union for Disney to host what essentially will be the rest of the NBA season right there at the Wide World of Sports. Of course, they have hotels. They have a Four Seasons type hotel there. That's more custom to what the NBA players are staying in throughout the country anyway. And there's some high-end hotels, and there's some middle-of-the-road hotels at Disney property that recently got renovated. Coronado Springs is one of them, and those are a couple of places that the idea would be the players have been or currently are. Before they go to Disney, they'll be quarantined, self-quarantining, and then when they get there, there's limited things to do anyway. And I think this is a premium location versus other options, and what I mean by that is, Disney does everything first class, and even though they're going to be in mostly a shutdown mode here, they're going to have luxury accommodations for these NBA players and their families. I trust the families would be allowed, and they'll have limited things at Disney. I mean, you go to some of these hotels, I don't want to leave the hotel. I'm okay just staying there. I don't have to go to the parks. So that's nice. Of course, the basketball will be running nonstop at the field house there at the Wide World of Sports. So I think that's going to become a reality here real soon. Florida was one of the first states to open up, and Governor DeSantis has been a big push behind. They had the UFT thing here, the first live event, I think, if you would, during these times was in Jacksonville. Now, mind you, there were no people in attendance, but Disney's going to take it to the next step here with hosting an entire league, from what I understand, at their property. And, that's going to help out a lot. And you know what? That's pretty smart because they already own ESPN, they're already part of the family, ABC. They'll have the games on TV, I guess, so that'll get TV sponsors. That'll get eyes on the TV, which the sponsors are going to like a lot.
Yeah, and it's gonna be interesting to see something like that, and how the NBA could be doing something in that respect. The NBA reopening potential in Disney, which will give money to Disney, and obviously give money to everybody that's connected to it. But Walt Disney World and being closed, this would give them some revenue and some things to do. Disney Springs is now open. There's a bunch of things that are open, and there's a lot of information on physical barriers and temperature screening and everything that's going on, like Mike had talked about. So, I'm itching for a visit, and I just feel like I need to come. Even if I just go to Disney Springs and I stay in one of the Disney hotels, I mean, Animal Kingdom Lodge right now, the rates are like half of what you normally pay. I don't even care if I'm by myself. I wake up in the morning, there's a zebra. What? I mean, like, I just kind of, I need the vacation, Mike. I need the vacation. So I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully sometime soon. I do want to get to, speaking of entertainment, Vince McMahon says he is in a court filing and it won't try to buy back the XFL. XFL owner Vince McMahon said this past Tuesday, yesterday, May 26th, that he, in bankruptcy court, that he will not attempt to buy the league. In a court filing, McMahon called accusations that he was secretly maneuvering to use Chapter 11 as an avenue to cheaply retain the XFL. It was quote, inflammatory and unsubstantiated. Now, the XFL, filed for bankruptcy on April 13th in Delaware District Court, 3 days after laying off nearly its entire staff, citing the coronavirus pandemic, the unforeseen impact of it. So McMahon then put the league up for sale, but the court's committee of unsecured creditors claimed last week that McMahon had set up a quote-unquote fire sale bidding process that would rig the process in a way that would allow him to buy it back without repaying any of its debts. In a deposition footnoted in Tuesday's filing, McMahon said he had reserved his legal right to buy a bidder in the original bankruptcy claim. He said he did that because, quote, I think I was trying to make up my mind, end quote. The committee's filing last week pushed him to decide against a bid. he had stated. Quote, I don't know why that's out there making me out to be the bad guy, that I'm going to buy the XFL back for pennies on the dollar, basically. That helped me move into the direction of I'm not going to be a bidder, not going to have anything to do with it. I do hope that someone will pay a lot of money for it, and I do hope that it will survive. End quote. Now, in the filing, McMahon's attorneys wrote that McMahon put in at least $200 million of his own money into the XFL. The attorneys wrote, quote, according all that the committee has managed to do is to chase away a potential significant bidder for the debtors' assets, end quote. Now, the XFL has hired Houlihan Lokey brokerage firm to handle the sale. They manage Houlihan Lokey managing director William H. Hardy III said in a filing Tuesday that 20 potential purchasers have signed non-disclosure agreements to gain access to confidential company data. An additional 6 potential purchasers are in the process of signing similar agreements, according to the filing. So potentially 26 bidders on the XFL. Hardy said, quote, based on preliminary feedback, I believe that there is a robust market for the debtors' assets, including a number of potentially interested private equity firms and other financial sponsors, end quote. According to the original schedule, a letter of intent are due June 12th. Final bids are due July 6th, subject to approval by the bankruptcy court, in hopes of putting potential new owners in position to get the XFL back on the field in spring 2021. So we could see the XFL really not lose a beat, just have a different owner. Mike, what are your thoughts on this? Vince McMahon had allegedly connected himself as a potential bidder on this, and then all this stuff came out that he was just trying to basically screw the system and get it for pennies on the dollar. So he backs away, and now there's allegedly anywhere from 20 to 26 new bidder opportunities of people that are interested in getting the XFL.
Look, Vince McMahon is a shrewd business person. Who would have thought that Vince McMahon would think of something like that? Come on. That's what big business does. That's how billion-dollar corporations, heck, Donald Trump's been in that situation before. Look, he couldn't predict a pandemic. This happened at the absolute worst time. He has a lot of things going for him when this all hits. He has the AAF, the AFL, whatever they call the Alliance of American Football, AAF. He had that where they had good talent. They had a good product on the field. They had good coaches, and they couldn't make it financially. He had the opposite problem in a sense where he had the upper management. He had the money backing, but maybe it wasn't put together as nice. Maybe they didn't have as good a talent. If I was him, I would have done the same thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's doing the same thing. Yeah. Use the tools that they're going to give you. If they're going to allow you to do this, do it. Well, I understand in the public eye and everything, social media, and everybody wants to be first, not exactly right, so some of this could be skewed, but maybe he is stepping back from those plans now because it doesn't look good. It doesn't have good optics. Nowadays, things are about optics. So what does he do? What does he have to fall back on? He has kids. Yeah. He has kids. He has business partners. He has limited liability corporations. He has this corporation over here. This one's buying that one, and this one's the parent company of that one. It's all on how it looks. For all we know, all 20 teams that are bidding right now are all owned or partially owned, or all that have an interest are from him, and maybe this is just all a dog and pony show anyway. It wouldn't surprise me. He is in the business of entertainment. That's what the World Wrestling Federation, the WWE, all that stuff that he owns. Right. That's what all that's about, entertaining. It's about interesting plot lines. It's about moving product. It's about getting money for sponsors. It's about having recognition from kids real young in age all the way up through adults. There's all sorts of demographics you can hit sponsor-wise. He's a shrewd businessman. I don't blame him for trying to do this. I wouldn't be surprised if in the end he's brought back on. If I am a potential owner or bidder, the first thing I'm doing when I secure all this XFL is I'm contacting everybody from the AAF, and I'm telling them, look, you guys got a bad rap. Hey, Spurrier, come on back. Prove to everybody you really won that championship. Hey, quarterback of the future, come on back over here. You didn't get enough time on TV. I'm calling everybody, and I'm starting right back up next year.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that we're in this situation of, he can be, like you said, as a shrewd businessman, he can very literally put himself in a situation where, and if you could get away with it, how many people would do this? That, I mean, what did Walt Disney do? Walt Disney bought land under different aliases, and it was all connecting, right? And that so he could build Walt Disney World. And then, of course, somebody trying to get famous, some reporter went out and said, I think this is Walt Disney. And then they drew up and then obviously they said, okay, well, now all this land's going to cost more, even though it's swamp and nobody wants it. But then Disney had the last laugh because he's the richest dead man ever. So, you look at something like that. But, in this situation, Vince McMahon could very easily be really close friends with Dan Tortora or Mike Sofka and say, hey, I'm not going to buy the league, but you buy the league, and then you and I will sign a contract where I get this percentage and you get that percentage, and then it's still my league. I mean, who cares? At the end of the day, what does it matter? People don't like Vince McMahon, and they don't like how shrewd he is, but they still watch WWE. And they complain, and then WrestleMania's on. And they complain, and then they watch Monday Night Raw. I mean, like, they want to see this stuff. So I don't think, somebody's going to make the money. Somebody's going to do it. Vince McMahon, I'm going to say this about him. Whether he's shrewd or not shrewd, whatever he is, I don't know him as a human being. He got screwed out of trying to bring something into this world that was working, it was functioning, and it was in its first year. And you lose money in your first year. I spent like 10 grand when I was an independent contractor doing my show down in Florida in 1 year. So the reality of it all is, whether you're by yourself or you're with a ton of people, you're going to struggle, to build this thing and to get it off the ground. The pandemic is nobody's fault. The pandemic is not on any of these businesses that are trying to navigate through it, is what I'm trying to say. And Vince McMahon is in a situation where, like him or not, personality good or not, nice person, not a nice person, shrewd, not shrewd, it doesn't matter. He tried to start a business at a time that was the most inopportune time to test something, and it was working. So, I think for him, if he can get another crack at it, he should get another crack at it, and he shouldn't be penalized for it because he didn't do any, he did not create the thing that affected the league the way that it did. So.
But you know what? I understand what you're saying there. And even though it's we're on the same page here, that's the risk you take when you go into business. That's, you yourself said that, up front here when, the initial expense you went through.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. There's a risk. That's why everybody's not doing it. They don't have that much money to risk, and they don't have the intestinal fortitude to put that money on the line and bet on themselves.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs, people like yourself, Dan, people like Vince McMahon, who believe in themselves, are willing to gamble on themselves. Sometimes and most times he wins, but this time he came up a loser. That is what it is, and I don't blame him for trying to get the easier way out here.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I do hope, obviously, the best for the XFL, because I'd love to see it. And I am the reigning and only time champion of the XFL, so thank you. So I'm loving it. XFL there, the NFL right there. So very proud of both, undefeated in the XFL, so good with that stuff. But I am passionate about it, so I want the XFL to continue because I want to stay undefeated and I want to win another championship. So I'm not comfortable just saying, oh, they played so many games. No, keep playing. Last topic of the day. New Orleans Saints defensive end Noah Spence suffered a torn ACL while training away from the team. Spence was placed on the reserve non-football injury list since the injury did not occur as part of the New Orleans offseason training program, which was canceled because of coronavirus. That means he can't play for the Saints this year and won't count against their 90-man roster. To look at this situation, and the reason why I bring it up, he's 26 years old. He was scheduled to make $910,000 on a one-year deal if he made the Saints' 53-man roster. He would have counted $750,000 against their salary cap as part of the veteran minimum salary benefit. The fifth-year pro originally joined the Saints in December, released by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Washington Redskins earlier in 2019-20 season. He was healthy and active for all 4 games with New Orleans, including the playoffs. The reason why I bring this up, first and foremost, God bless to Noah Spence. He tore his ACL, and I hope that he gets healthy and never happens again, and he stays healthy on and off the field for the rest of his life. So big blessings to him for that. Secondly, I bring this up because if NFL players are going to continue to train for their season away from the facility, not in the program of the team, they could get screwed out of money, their careers could end, and so now the question becomes, do you train at all, knowing that the onus could be on you at the end of the day, and you could lose your spot on the roster, lose your money on the roster, lose your contract benefits of making the roster. So, players are trying to get ready. Should they be doing it at this point, Mike, is a big question. And this affects fantasy football because, Noah Spence goes down, and then maybe we're talking about Todd Gurley, and maybe we're talking about DeAndre Hopkins, and maybe we're talking about Sam Darnold, and so on and so forth. And now it becomes, it could continue to become a real issue when you are training, trying to get ready for the season because you're doing the right thing, but it could ultimately end up affecting so many other things, and it could affect their livelihood if these players, if there's, a situation like this where you get injured off property and not a part of this, so now you can't file this way, now you're not going to make this money. Players might back away from it, especially now that Noah Spence is obviously, sometimes all it takes is one person to change the game for everybody.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation, and this kind of combines two of the topics we've talked about today. It kind of combines the fact that when all is said and done, he's an independent contractor. He's his own business. Yes, he works for teams in the NFL, but his body and his mind together to perform a task, he's being employed to make sure he's ready to do that task. What happens if the opposite is true? What happens if no one works out and no one does the right things and no one does the things that are supposed to happen? Well, things are delayed business-wise, and then when these players do get back, there's a greater chance of injury because of the speed of the game. It is what it is. These guys are professional athletes. I know Noah Spence is only 26 years old, but he's probably been playing football since age 5. So for the past 20 years, I'm sure you've come across a couple people who have impacted your life if you're an NFL player, who have taught you the right way and the wrong way to do things. And whether that happened by accident or whether it was you doing something wrong, it's just like we were talking about today with leaving the house as well. It's kind of up to you in a way. I want you to follow your local guidelines and your government's, your local governors, whatever they put out for you. But here where I'm at, you can go out, you can conduct business, you can do things. And like I said before, there's an inherent risk whenever you leave a house, something's going to happen. There's an inherent risk, even if he was on his own or even if he was at the NFL facility. Now, chances are, with all probability, there would have been less chance of something bad happening to him under NFL, guidance in the NFL facility. But stuff happens.
Yeah.
We've got to keep moving forward. If we don't keep moving forward, we're nothing.
And that's the thing, is you have to keep moving forward. So many of us focus on the past. You can't change the past. You can say you're sorry and do this and that, but I feel like, we all, again, to bring it all full circle again, Mike, two types of people. People that screw up and change and people that screw up and stay the same. You can't focus on what's happened. You can't focus on, well, the pandemic started in March. You can't focus on, well, I screwed up back there. Whatever you did back here is back here. You have to focus on moving forward. And I know people that are in my life that I love like crazy that don't make a ton of mistakes, and they're fantastic people. I shouldn't say don't make a ton of mistakes, but just good people doing their thing, whatever. And then I know people that have screwed up, but I care about who they are today. I care about how they act today. And to hold somebody in purgatory forever for what they did back then, that's back then. If Jalen Ramsey decides to be nice now and he works well with the Rams and he doesn't complain, all the power to him, and that's fantastic. But ultimately, it's about what you do today. Now, and speaking of that, I do want to add one quick thing here. The NFL head coaches may return to facilities very soon here, with state governments eyeing an entry point for NFL franchises. We're looking at the fact that head coaches could return to team facilities as early as this coming week, and following full squad minicamps in mid to late June. So we're looking at this as coming from Yahoo Sports. Minicamps, including players, could be scheduled as early as June 15th or as late as June 27th, depending on what goes on with everything that's happening here. So we're looking to see what we can do here and how we can move this forward. Now, they said that A declaration from California Governor Gavin Newsom will serve as a key hurdle in whether the NFL can pull off a fully operational minicamp in June. If Newsom opens the way for full team operations without any fan attendance, the league could then get NFL franchises the option of holding a minicamp sometime in June before breaking once again and setting dates for the opening of training camp. So that's what we're hearing right now is we could see that teams could start to return their players to facilities in the middle to late June. So, Mike, this is good for fantasy. This is good for reality. This is good for the NFL that, you know, they're as we start to reopen things and get in phases and whatnot. I heard from, you know, Governor Andrew Cuomo said over the weekend here that he felt good as of this past Sunday to reopen the state of New York for professional sports, and for sports in general, I should say. And then, you know, we heard the conversation shortly after with New Jersey about opening for sports and whatnot. And I know Florida's trying to do that, like you said, with the NBA in Orlando. So as more cities start to do this and start to look at the opportunities for this, there is the hope that the NFL season will happen in some way. I do believe it's going to happen. I don't believe it's. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen with fans, but I do believe it's going to happen. And I think that if we can safely and securely get people back into training camps, then we won't have to hopefully worry about stuff that's happened to people like Noah Spence. And then, you know, us fantasy owners and overall NFL fans can start to get excited about something and look forward to it.
Well, I think this whole shutdown is going to affect the rookies coming in more so than some of the old savvy veterans like a Tom Brady. You know, you take a look at a guy like Lamar Jackson, he gets it. He's hosting, you know, I'm sure he's staying within the guidelines provided in his area, but he's hosting some of his critical teammates to help them get things going, to help them get together. You know, timing is a lot about what the NFL does on the field. It's all about timing a lot of times in plays. And if you guys aren't on the same page, you're not going to be in that same time frame, and that's disaster. So you look at guys that could probably be impacted by this. You look at the rookies coming in. You look at Joe Burrow, Jerry Jeudy. You look at even an offensive lineman like Jedrick Willis. You know, I'm not talking so much about defensive players because that's a lot of reaction and a lot of things are similar. And defensive players get off to a faster start traditionally, but the speed of the game in the NFL overall is different for a lot of these players unless they played at a big school.
Oh, Mike, we just lost your audio here for a second. Give me 1 second. We lost Mike here. Facebook was nice to Mike the entire time, and then they had to take it away in the final moments. They had to do it. It's like being in a movie theater and having it cut out at the most inopportune time. So let's bring Mike back in here and get his thoughts and let him go with it once again here. We apologize for any inconvenience to your morning here as we have gone inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour and gone outside of 11 a.m. here on the show as we typically do. So let's bring Mike back in. Mike, continue with your thought whenever you would like to. Go ahead.
All right. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, perfect. I was just making the point here that the rookies are going to be behind, not so much defensive rookies, but I'm talking, you know, timing. I'm talking offense. I'm talking DeAndre Swift. I'm talking CeeDee Lamb. I'm talking Jerry Jeudy. I'm talking Joe Burrow. You know, now these guys have.
Mike, we lost your audio again. Hold on. Oh, Facebook, how you toy with me and my emotions. So let's get Mike back in here. We're gonna do it again. We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna secure Mike on the broadcast to round out today's show. We're gonna get him ready. There he is. All right, Mike. I'm not going to touch anything in the studio. I will not hit the red button. I will not pass go and collect $200. Go ahead.
The rookies are going to be behind.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. You know, the savvy veterans like a Tom Brady can get his crew together.
Yeah.
That's what Lamar Jackson just did. I'm worried about guys like a Joe Burrow going in, even though he was in the SEC, even though he won a national championship, even though he won the Heisman. There's learning curve. There's speed of the game. There's reading the defenses. There's nuances and signals and a new language almost. It's almost like picking up a foreign language for some guys. Some of the teams are going to have to bend that a little bit for these rookies coming in. I think the veterans are going to be all right, but just like anything else, there's a risk involved. There's a risk involved whether they're at camp. How many times have we seen or heard of a guy blowing out his knee at camp?
Right.
And that's it. He's done for the year. It happens.
Right.
So, I hope these things don't happen. But these guys got to be ready. These guys got to get themselves in shape. Most of them are already in shape by our standards. But there's a shape you need to be in to play the NFL game. There's certain muscles you need to focus on more so than others. And speed kills. That's what the NFL is about. And if you sit on the couch long enough and don't do anything, you're going to lose some speed. So these guys got to keep active. They got to keep going. Stuff's going to happen. It's not going to slow down the rest of the league just because you hurt yourself. They're not going to wait for you.
Yeah, and their thing is, we just hope that we're in an unprecedented time, but you're better together, you're stronger together. We have to work together to get through this. Mike and I work together every single Wednesday and also throughout the week. Keep in touch. Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com, myself, Dan Tortora of WakeUpCallDT.com, inside of the Charney's Menswear and Tuxedo Studios, hanging out with you, and you can always find us on Facebook. Winning Fantasy Football is the group to join. Winning Fantasy Football is the group to join, so join it today. We discussed a ton of different topics on and off the field for you today, and we appreciate you as always. Mike, thank you so much for all that you do. Please stay safe down in Florida, and hopefully I will have the opportunity to venture down there and see you soon.
Sounds good, Dan. Thanks.
All right, be good. Take care. So that coming from Mike Sofka. Join us on Winning Fantasy Football. That is the group on Facebook, so make sure that you do that. We're taking one final step aside on today's broadcast, a wake-up call with Dan Tortora. When we come back, we will wrap up today's show and let you know what's coming up for the rest of the week. Can't believe it'll be Thursday already, but that is where we're rolling toward, and so we will talk about that right after this. Borio's Restaurant, located on 8891 McDonald's Parkway in Cicero, would like to invite you to their Sunday brunch, weekly from 10:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., featuring multiple mouth-watering breakfast and lunch items. We would also like to welcome you to Free Trivia Thursdays at 7 p.m. with weekly prizes. Call 315-699-2249 to reserve your team's table at Borio's Restaurant, located on 8891 McDonald's Parkway, overlooking Oneida Lake.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice for you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spit our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, where you're listening in on internet streaming radio. You're watching on video here on Facebook Live on facebook.com/live-now-DT. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us inside of the Charney's Menswear and Tuxedo Studios. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I want to thank my guests today. I want to thank Michael Williams II for a fantastic hour number 1, 2022, a linebacker out of Michigan with plenty of offers. His mom going to Michigan, his dad Michigan State. So interesting household. Had a lot of fun with him. Great questions from him today, and truly appreciate his time. Looking forward to his story continuing and trending upward all the way through, God willing and God bless. And I want to thank Mike Sofka for the Wildcat Sports Pub Fantasy Football Power Hour, bringing you topics that are affecting fantasy football, the NFL, and so much more in the sports world. Being able to talk with Mike every single week, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. With that being said, tomorrow's show, Papa Joe, it's Thursday. He's with us from 9 to 10 a.m. We'll be talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars and a lot of other things going on. We'll also address his thoughts on the Hard Rock Stadium for the Miami Dolphins opening up as a drive-in theater and so much more. We'll also talk about where Florida is as they have started their phase before we did, and we'll talk about where they're at in returning to some, I don't want to call it normalcy, but trying to get people back outside and doing things and positive and whatnot. So we'll talk with Papa Joe about that in hour number 1. And then Riley Leonard, who was recruited by Syracuse at the quarterback position, ultimately chose to go to quarterback guru David Cutcliffe with the Duke Blue Devils. We'll talk with Riley about that decision tomorrow in hour number 2 of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. In the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you're always with us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You're listening on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. You're watching on facebook.com/live-now-DT, and you can search the archives. And just by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, you can find us on MixLR, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, iTunes, YouTube, Podbean, and so much more. You can also ask Alexa to play this latest episode of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and she will do that for you as well. Want to thank all my partners, Charney's Menswear and Tuxedos, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chapper's Pizza Pub, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Borio's Restaurant, Honda City of Liverpool, and I would love to thank the Mill House Market for all that they do. So thank you so much for tuning in today. God bless, no stress, and as always, please do your best. And I don't care about, what you've done in the past. I care about what you do today. So be the best version of yourself today, and the people that love you will always appreciate that. We can only get better from here, folks, and we are stronger together. I'll talk with you all soon. Thank you, and stay with us on social media. Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. I'll talk with you soon.